So how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just getting on with everything here, and I'm happy to be chatting with you. This is a fun thing to do for sure. So,
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us. That's for sure. So I have been practicing last time we met, and I thank you very much for the for what the lesson you gave me. And it's funny enough, Chris Hughes asked a similar sort of question about uh, you know um, which is the question I asked about your techniques and skills of incorporating the bass and melodies to it's a hell of a skill.
it's
Uh,
a work in progress. Thanks.
Yeah, well, it is. It's definitely a work in progress, and funny enough, I've been playing with a tremolo today, and all of a sudden, just the use of a tremolo has, all of a sudden I'm playing differently, and
Oh, yeah, it's amazing, amazing like that, huh?
yeah. So all these notes and little melodies that I've been avoiding for years that have not inspired me to play, they were in there, but
Right.
just the use of a little pedal, and they've all started to pop out again. You
Well, I
know.
think that's really the goal, right? That's the whole point of pedals is to just excite you and to get you kind of lost into your playing, really. Not lost into the
Yeah,
pedal, but lost into your own playing to where you go and you step on something and then you're like, "Oh, this is kind of neat." And then I find that true with a good quality instrument also. Some instruments you're kind of trying to make friends with,
yeah,
and some pedals and some instruments you just play and you're like, who's playing this?
yeah,
Like this is just kind of coming out and it
yeah,
sounds different than yourself,
yeah,
because you're hearing it. So it's I think that's great.
yeah.
Tremolo is one of my all-time favorite effects, and aside from reverb, because some people I don't consider reverb an effect so much as more of a necessity. And it's fun to use it as an effect as well, like a big echoey kind of thing, which I have that on my board. But I think of reverb as just a necessity. So as far as effect wise, tremolo is my favorite effect. Above overdrive, above delay, above anything, it's my favorite effect.
Yeah, well, I was playing with the tremolo, and then I was coming to a part, and I thought, and then I just did a unison bend, and I thought, oh, that needs some reverb. So then I thought with the tremolo sound, so I got the RV6 Boss RV6. I clicked it on the spring reverb to get some kind of like vintagey sounds, and then hooked up with the tremolo, and I was like back in the 50s. It was excellent. It was
Oh
great
yeah.
fun, you know.
Oh yeah, man. I'm really into you know that tune, Who's That Lady? Was that the Isley Brothers, I think?
Yeah,
Man, that effect that I found out later actually wasn't phaser, but to me it sounds like a phaser. I think it's actually not. I think it's some sort of a combination of vibe effects and this and that. But when
yeah,
you get that kind of sound, man, you just kind of like, oh, this is that one sound. Now I'm
yeah.
gonna do everything I can think of in that sound and do that. So
Yeah.
I don't have that moment as much as other people do. Because I watch other people have that moment because they get excited about certain strat tones or oh, I've got this Jimi Hendrix sound, I got this Eric Clapton sound, and those are sounds that I'm not really going for, so I don't get
Mm,
as excited about that kind of thing. But when I do get that excitement, when I hear that sound, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do something with this, and it's really
mm,
fun.
yeah. Well, look, let's find out a little bit more about you as a guitarist, as an artist,
Cool.
if we may, because that's the purpose of today, really. So we all know Nate Lopez as the extremely talented eight-string guitar and bass hybrid player. But I take it you didn't start with that instrument. So what guitar did you first pick up, and why?
Sure, sure. Well, I came from a musical family. My mom played piano, her mom played piano, her mom's mom played piano, but just kind of like show tunes and 50s tunes, 40s tunes, old-time jazz tunes, that kind of thing. And my dad, he didn't play anything, but his brother was a not a famous guitarist, but he was a really fantastic guitar player. Every time we'd have like a family reunion or something like that, he would bring out his guitar with his initials engraved into it and do tapping and do all kinds of stuff like that, which was interesting because it was mostly like traditional Mexican folk music, but he would bring tapping and crazy playing into it. So he was always an influence. So when Ricardo, my uncle, when he passed away, he gave his guitar to my dad, and my dad gave it to me. And that was probably when I was about 12 or 13.
Right.
And so he gave me that acoustic guitar and I started playing around on it. And it was good timing too, because I was really into skateboarding at the time. But I think I had just broken myself again. Like I had already broken my wrist, I already hurt my knee. So I think I had just broken my ankle or broken my foot. So I couldn't skate. So I was looking for something to kind of fill that gap. I played piano when I was a kid. When I was about 4 years old, my mom made me take some piano lessons, but I really didn't like it. I didn't like just learning notes and playing Old MacDonald and stuff like that. I thought it was really boring. And also, I'd hear things like B.B. King or Santana that my dad would be playing, and I'm looking for those notes on the piano, and I'm like, they're not here. Like, this note's too high, this note's too low, what the heck? So once I found out about bending notes and those semitones, I kind of quit the piano altogether. I'm like, this is a useless instrument. I can't even get the notes that I'm hearing on the radio. So what the heck's the point? So I didn't play for a while. And then, like I said, when I was about 13 or so, I inherited my uncle's guitar. And I found out when I was playing the guitar, I found out I was mostly playing bass lines.
Yeah.
I was kind of just really into... or something like that, you know, or trying to figure out Metallica bass lines or Black Sabbath bass lines, that kind of stuff. I was trying to figure that kind of stuff out. So when it came time to get like a real instrument or whatever, we went to Guitar Center and got myself a knockoff Fender P bass and played on that thing for a while. So I found out bass players were kind of a lot more needed and at the time, and more valued really in where I grew up in Northern California. I mean, there were guitar players everywhere you looked, but if you were a bass player, you could make a living being a bass player. You didn't even have to be that good. You could just make a living, especially if you owned an upright. I ended up buying an upright bass and an acoustic bass guitar, and just by owning those instruments, I got gigs that other people didn't get just because of the sound. So, so I played bass for a long time. I played in jazz groups. I played in metal groups. I played in a little bit of Latin stuff. But I was always fascinated. When I was a kid, my mom got me a tape from the library, and it was a bunch of different jazz guitarists. And it had Barney Kessel and Kenny Burrell, Joe Pass, Charlie Bird, all these guys on there, but it really was Joe Pass and Charlie Bird that just changed my whole concept. Charlie Bird playing entire arrangements on just one guitar. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I can't believe how much you can do on just that one instrument. So I started getting into classical guitar and fingerstyle guitar, but I was playing the bass at the time. So I started taking lessons from a guitar player, Matthew Grosso. We started hanging out and kind of learning classical guitar technique a little bit on my bass. And then I started tuning it with kind of gaps in it to where like I would tune the bass E, A, G, C, F. So there'd be a little bit of a gap so I could get some high. So I still have my low notes, but then I had some higher notes as well. So I could do more chordal stuff, which is what I was hearing. And then when I saw Charlie Hunter play for the first time, I was like, oh, you can actually improvise and do kind of classical guitar technique. I'm like, that's where it's at. So I started playing the hybrid later on. Now I've been playing this hybrid guitar, not this particular one, but I've been playing hybrid guitars pretty exclusively for about 10 years, 15 years, something like that. And occasionally I'll play a regular 6-string guitar if the bass player doesn't want to leave, or if I'm doing some sort of collaboration or something like that. But for the most part, I'm pretty much playing this instrument as my main instrument.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic to hear. It's so unique, and if you can play it like yourself and incorporating all the bass and the melodies in as well, it's just it's a hell of a skill. And it's for the listener, it's the complete sound, isn't it, in some respects?
Well, that's really what I'm going for. I mean, I find no matter what instrument you play, whether you're playing drums or bass or trombone, whatever, you have to practice by yourself a fair amount of the time, even if it's just doing scales or this and that. But I mean, you have to practice quite a bit just by yourself. And now with the pandemic, there's a lot more of that happening. So, so if I'm going to play by myself, I'm going to try and entertain myself, really, you know, because then I'll keep on playing more. So I was always trying to do little arrangements of songs that I'd hear on the radio, anything from jingles or this and that. And just trying to develop that sound. And then a lot of people talk about like some of the percussive thing that I do. I never like will tap all over the board of the instrument. I don't do that. I don't do anything crazy percussive, but I do kind of have a backbeat, like a... you know, that kind of percussive thing.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm always playing with a drummer. In my head, I always hear the boom, ka, the boom, boom, ka, the
Yeah.
boom, boom, ka, boom, 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 ka. I'm constantly hearing that in my head. So I'm actually playing along to that. And I know you guys can't hear it, but I'm playing along to J-Bo Starks or Clyde Stubblefield or something like that, or just a Tribe Called Quest band group type of thing. So I'm playing in my head that ka. So when I play, I kind of am just trying to lock in with the drummer that I hear. That you know, and it's always trying to figure out like how much is enough and how much is too much, and this and that, and also it seems weird because I do a lot of solo gigs and a lot of solo performance, so I'm always trying to fill up that sound, but appreciating silence I think is important as well. So I try and remember to appreciate space in music, and maybe I don't have to do quite so much all the time, but I'm going to try anyway.
I think, no, I understand what you're saying about appreciating space and stuff, but I think with your style of playing, there's always something going on, and that's a good thing because it's what you're doing is right. Do you know what I mean? The creating space. I mean, I was listening to Eric Clapton play. You know, I'm a huge Clapton fan. And I was listening to some of his, funny enough, one of his Christmas album came on, and it's very cheesy, but I thought I'd have a listen to it. But a lot of his riffs, it's so basic, and that sounds, I not take it, but it is so basic. But to play it like he does, that's where the basics stop, and there's not a lot in it. There's not many notes. There's lots of space for the band to come in, but it's a different type of space that you're creating, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, it's interesting, and that's true. I mean, you hear all this stuff going on, and the guitar player isn't always doing the most complicated things. So as long as it's not crazy complicated Mark Knopfler stuff or whatever, you can really arrange that as a whole solo arrangement. You can do the little bit that the guitar is playing, and then maybe hold down the bass line. If not play the exact bass line, you can at least hold down a low note while you play stuff on top, and it creates a nice illusion. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
And you mentioned, I've written down the piano here, but so has the piano, or having a knowledge of the piano, has that helped you with how you play the hybrid? Because there's a lot of the same sort of things going on, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, piano is really neat. I've come occasionally. I have a piano. I have my piano from when I was a kid downstairs, and I really don't play it too much. I find that I don't. When I pick up a guitar, I can pretty much play what's in my head pretty quickly. But on the piano, I have a lot of trouble figuring it out. I just see it as a theory instrument. So to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. Playing the piano is invaluable. I think every single musician should play the piano and should sing. And I'm an instrumentalist, and I don't even like vocal music for the most part. I mean, there's some stuff, of course, but for the most part, I think about 90% of my music collection is instrumental stuff. But I think the importance of singing to connect, to be able to sing and be able to find accurate melodies, to be able to confer this to other bandmates or other ideas and stuff like that, I think that's crucial. And I think playing the piano is crucial to have a complete, just a Western theory understanding. It's a perfect Western theory instrument, and it's just really neat. It's just laid out right there for you. There's the chords, there's the notes. It's just right there. It's easier to read music on than the guitar or any stringed instrument, and it's just kind of right there. So it's just invaluable for understanding the relationships, especially the intervals between notes. You know, your perfect fifths and your octaves and the whole relationship in inverted chords and that kind of stuff. I mean, I see the piano when I close my eyes a lot, and I play harmonica as well. And I really don't think I could play harmonica at all if I didn't play piano. So yeah, I think the piano is just an important building blocks instrument to understand Western music. Whether you choose to be a pianist or not, or a vocalist or not, I don't think matters. I think everybody should spend some time with that kind of stuff for sure.